the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse, mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me, keep on running toes, they gon' take them. Used to lose, built to win, applied myself, I felt it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win, apply myself.
I'm back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back for another episode, man. I know. MSU won, but I'm not wearing my MSU shirt. I wore it on the show Friday. We won. I wore it on my show Saturday morning, the show that we won. Victory for MSU is the name. But I got to represent them South Carolina boys today, man. Got their first SEC win against Texas Saturday night at Colonial Life Arena. Shout out to them boys. Man, it's been a long journey, a lot of games that could have been won, but alas, they got the SEC win. They did not go winless like Missouri last year, funny enough, who they played next week. But this is week in review in college basketball. I got some notes on some conference winners, but before we get into that, I'd like to ask that you like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps the channel, helps the network. It helps my channel, CTC, by way of the Refuse to Lose Network. We also got the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave every Tuesday and Friday, 7 to 8:30-ish. Unfazed, featuring Joe and AJ every 9 o'clock Eastern time. Every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock Central. AJ got a little noise because the Lakers beat the Nuggets. I mean, if you don't know, the Pistons obviously ain't been in the playoffs since Blake Griffin. So, Jokic is one of my favorite players. He's not my favorite. Dame is my favorite, but he's one of my favorite players in the NBA. So, I was rooting for the Nuggets when the Nuggets won in 2022. I obviously can't root for the Pistons, but I was popping it. And obviously, he swept the Lakers. Then they got the Lakers about it the next year. He finally got a win, and he was popping it. But I had to let him know, like, bro, this ain't the playoffs. And my team swept yours. So relax. But, yeah, other than that, I'm going to make sure y'all watch that show. Then we have BWT, Baseball with Teddy. Baseball's around the corner. Funny enough with Teddy. Teddy this morning, hey, man, I know it's spring training, but, bleep the Tigers. I'm like, dang, brother, save that for the regular season because I don't care. And we ended up winning 4-0. I ain't say nothing after the game because, I don't care. Spring training is just, just to see what's up. But it's funny how that worked. But then Dave's Doghouse highlights and lowlights of sports. So make sure you check that out. Funny enough with Dave, ever since Jimmy Butler's left the Heat, Heat are 1-5. Now, if you know me, I never like the Heat. Don't like the Heat. But Jimmy Butler is one of my favorite players in the league as well. So when Jimmy goes in the playoffs, came for the Pistons. I hated it. I disliked that I had to do it. But I wanted my dog Jimmy to get a ring as the driving force. So I was rooting for my dog. Couldn't get it done. But now he's off the team. Full force back to, hating the Heat. But make sure y'all check out the show. In the Red Corner went live, I believe, yesterday. I think they went live yesterday when I was at work. So that's featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo boxing. Make sure you check them out. We got RBO Real Ballers Only featuring Vaughn, Magic fan, NBA guy. Make sure you get your NBA content from there. We got FFC, Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. Fantasy is over, but, he's going to go over off-season, draft, free agency, things like that. So make sure y'all tune in when he goes live. That's all the shows we have to offer on the network. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps the channel. It helps us as well. So, and if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. Now, like I said, this episode is just a week in review. Just going over this week in college basketball. First thing I'm going to do, shout out again the Michigan State boys. Went 2-0 this week, played 13th ranked Purdue, won. won by 9 at the Breslin Center. Then we played 12th ranked Michigan at the Chrysler Center. Got the crowd screaming, go green, go white at they crib. We win by double digits in the Chrysler Center. Going 2-0, like I said, should possibly put us top 10, especially with Iowa State, albeit with 2 injured guys, their top 2 scorers being hurt, losing to Houston. Might put us up in that top 10. And we're back in first place in the Big Ten. So shout out my MSU boys there. Big game Wednesday against Maryland. Tomo, I hope you're ready for a battle. So that's one I got to shout out. 2, again, shout out South Carolina. Got their first SEC win last night against Texas. I was super excited behind that. Just so happy Lamont Paris didn't go winless. I'm so happy about that. Because I do like Lamont Paris in South Carolina. I do think he's a good coach, and I think he is the coach for South Carolina moving forward. Just like a couple of games, even the Auburn game, should have won. Just things happened late game, didn't go our way. But South Carolina finally got the job done. But before I get into other things this week, I do want to shout out some conference news. So some conference news in review. St. Mary's. I picked them to win Saturday. They win in the Gonzaga. They win in the Kennel Arena or the Kennel, and they won. St. Mary's sweeps Gonzaga for the first time in a long time, and they win the WCC regular season championship. Shout out to them. Extraordinary year for Randy Bennett and the Gales, Augustus Marcelonis, Mitchell Saxon, and Mikey Lewis, my X Factor, coming through. I think he dropped 18, I think. It was either 18 or 20. I wanted him to get the 20 ball, so I might be misremembering that. But I know he had 18 for a fact. Drunk freshman shot the lights out of the ball. Shout out to Gales for winning the WCC outright. With, I believe, with 2 games left. But there are 3 games in front of Gonzaga. Swept them. No possible way Gonzaga could win and share the title. So shout out them. Shout out Drake. Drake and University of Northern Iowa had a game going to overtime in Northern Iowa today. It was a really good game. Came to the wire, but Drake hits a 3-ball late to go up 6, and they win the game. Shout out Coach Ben McCullum, coming from D2, from a D2 program, and winning the Missouri Valley in his first year at Drake, bringing over Bennett Sturts and a bunch of guys with them. Got to shout out Drake for that one. Not gonna lie, I was rooting for UNI. I've been kind of rooting for UNI since Seth Tuttle days. Seth Tuttle was my guy, but Drake got it done. They have won the Missouri Valley. McNeese, Coach Will Wade and McNeese, they have won the Southland outright. So shout out to them. We have Towson winning the Coastal. They have 2 games left. They're 2 games in front of UNC Wilmington and have a win over them. So shout out to Towson for winning the Coastal. Maryland school, so definitely shout out there. Yale has won the Ivy League regular season. So shout out to them, up 4 games on Dartmouth with 3 games left. They do play Dartmouth this week, but it doesn't matter in terms of the conference standings. It matters for pride and wanting to win, but in terms of the conference, too far ahead. So shout out Yale. Then I got 2 teams clinching at least a share of their conference regular season titles, and that is Central Connecticut clinched a share of the Northeast Conference or NEC, and Southeast Missouri State clinching a share of the Ohio Valley Conference. Shout out them there. So those 2 teams, no matter what, they can lose the rest of the games. They still have a share of their title. If they win, they have the title outright, but they have to win still. But those are conference titles, regular season champs. So those will be their 1 seeds going into their conference championship tournaments. Can't wait for those. Should be seeing those in like 2 weeks. Some other news in college basketball. Kansas on the road gets blown out by 30+ against BYU on Tuesday. I told you those road woes are serious. Now 3-7 on the road, but then they bounce back with a huge win against Oklahoma State, I believe by like 28-30+. So again, at home, Allen Fieldhouse, they look phenomenal. On the road, away from Allen Fieldhouse, terrible, 3-7. And this was the perfect week for it. That showed it right there. BYU. Since we're talking about Kansas that lost to BYU, again, destroys BYU and Provo, but gets away. I mean, escapes a game of Tucson, Arizona, beating the Wildcats by 1. I want to say it was Richie Saunders that got fouled late ball game. That foul was weak. It was weak. It was clear that Richie Saunders had nowhere to go with the ball. Trey Townsend, I think it was Trey Townsend, walls up to play defense. Richie Sanders just throws the ball up in desperation because he has to get a shot off, and they give him a foul. He knocks down the 2 free throws, ball game, Arizona loses. So I watched the call. It's a weak call, and I don't feel like it's one of those calls, you can't call that at that time, because I'm not a proponent of that sentiment. I feel like if it's a call, you got to make the call. I don't care what time of the game it is, because I dislike when people say that, because if that's the case, let's just play the last few seconds or whatever that time is where you can't make that call. Let's play with no refs if we're going to do that. So I'm not a proponent in that. I don't think you should make that call, period. Yeah, it was maybe a tiny ounce of a bump. He's bumping into him. He's walling up. Come on, man. I just think that was a weak call. So I think BYU gets away with one there at Arizona. Arizona fans has every right to be absolutely upset, especially when you're in the race, where you're trying to be in the race with Houston to win the Big 12. Houston's now in front by, 3 games? Speaking of Houston, doing what Houston do, got their W's. They do play Texas Tech tomorrow. Huge game. If Houston beats Texas Tech tomorrow, they do win the Big 12 regular season outright, meaning Kelvin Sampson just does it no matter what conference he's in. No matter what conference you say he can't win in, he wins it. He won in the American, and he's going to win in the Big 12. So, man, shout out Kelvin Sampson, man. He just gets it done no matter where it is. Next, we'll move on to Baylor. Baylor drops 2 games this week. They dropped the first one to Arizona, like I thought, pretty much predicted. But the loss to Colorado on the road was pretty much unexpected. Colorado, not too many wins in the Big 12. They escaped, though. They get the job done against Baylor. Baylor dropping games. I don't know what's going on. Scott Drew has to go back to the drawing board. They cannot limp into conference tournament play or NCAA tournament play playing the way that they are. They have to get it together. We could go to Purdue. Purdue in the Big Ten lose 2 straight. This week, they lose to MSU on Tuesday night, again, by 9 at the Braves. But then they go into Bloomington and have a 12-point lead at half and absolutely get dominated in the second half, turning the ball over left and right, losing to Indiana and Bloomington, albeit it is a huge rivalry game, tough environment for them to win in. But the way they lost, it's the way that they lost, those turnovers. Braden Smith has actually been kind of a turnover machine lately, which is uncharacteristic of him. And Trey Kaufman Rangers could not get anything going, had a bad day at the office today. Purdue was reeling at one point. I don't know. Purdue, Coach Painter, another guy that has to regroup going into this next week, because they were in play for the Big Ten regular season title. Right now, like I said, MSU is number 1, and Michigan is behind because of the loss to Michigan State. But Purdue is no longer in 3rd. I believe Wisconsin possibly is in 3rd with the win over Purdue, because Wisconsin – no, we're not even going to say Wisconsin. We want to bring up Oregon. Oregon goes into Iowa, gets the job done in Iowa, and then goes from Iowa, which I think is Ames Arena, Ames is Iowa State, excuse me. But they go into Iowa, get the job done, right? They go to Wisconsin and get down 17 on the road in the Kohl Center, Wisconsin, and comes back, forces overtime, and beats Wisconsin for 2 straight road wins. Shout out the Ducks, man. They've been playing good basketball. They've beaten Northwestern. They've beaten Wisconsin. They've beaten Iowa. Now, obviously, Northwestern was not this week, but I think they smoked Rutgers. They've been on a tear. Shout out Jackson Shelstead, Keyshawn Bartholomew, Nate Biddle. They've been getting the job done. And shout out Dana Altman, man. I say it a lot. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves, but Dana Altman is one of the best college basketball coaches in the country. I believe he's one of the best college coaches in the country. So shout out Dana Altman. Shout out the Ducks. Got the job done. Could possibly be ranked. I'm not sure about that. But we move on. We move on to Tennessee. Tennessee getting a big upset win in terms of books. They 6-7, but big win on the road at Texas A&M, beating Wade Taylor and the boys. Tennessee gets a huge win there, and we move on to Mississippi State, who got a big win against Texas A&M, but then lose Saturday to Oklahoma, who snaps a 5-game losing streak on Mississippi State and Oklahoma. So big win, bad loss. Kind of it's just bad there. Another team I wanted to talk about and I just had the team on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. All right, as I try to find it, we'll move on because I just wanted to talk. Oh, Wake Forest. Oh, Wake Forest. I was just talking about how y'all should be firmly in the tournament. And every time I do that, y'all seem to smack me in my face. You lose on the road to NC State, albeit NC State has hit the most threes they've hit in all season. NC State season high of threes was 11 this year, going into the game on Tobacco Road at NC State. They hit 13. So they passed their season high. I know, but you still have to win that game. Wake Forest still was committing turnovers. Efton Reed was still committing crazy fouls, getting in foul trouble. Hunter Silas, he couldn't get in a consistent rhythm. It was bad. So that was a bad resume loss for the Demon Deacons. But I saw Joe Lunardi's post this morning. They're still right now, I think, last four in, which is good. But that loss definitely hurts. It hurts their tournament chances for sure. So that's tough there. Vanderbilt, big win against Ole Miss. Now, I told Joe this backstage Friday. I said, Joe, I have a dog of the week, but I can't do it yet because I feel like when I wake up the next morning, which was Saturday, when I filmed my actual dog of the week, they're not going to be dogs anymore. They weren't. They went from underdogs to favorites, and I was so mad because that's when as soon as I seen it Friday when they made the lines, I said, that's my underdog right there. I was so mad they switched to favorites, and they beat Ole Miss by 5. Shout out AJ and Jason, AJ Hogarth, Jason Edwards, and the boys. They got a big win against Ole Miss. I think they move into next 4 buys or first 4 buys in Joe Lunardi standings. I can't remember. But that was a big win nonetheless for Vanderbilt. Speaking of big wins, Arkansas gets a big win at home against Missouri. Missouri looked to pull away in the second half, but Arkansas fights back. They win. Big win for Arkansas. Now, this is what I got to say. I got to go on my little mini rant. Arkansas has 5 SEC wins. I think they're 5-9, 5-10 in SEC play. How in the world are they having conference tournament considerations? How? Don't get it. I'll tell you how. One, they're in the SEC this year. SEC has been elite, like supremely elite, like possibly one of the best conferences ever. Cool. Secondly, it's Coach Cal. It's the name. If Coach Cal was not coaching Arkansas, and it was back to Coach Musselman, no disrespect to Musselman because I love Coach Musselman, don't think Arkansas will have any considerations. But tournament wants to see Cal. I think they're going to find a way to get Arkansas in because Cal is there, and they're going to see what Cal can do. There's no way this Arkansas team should have considerations, in my opinion, with 5 SEC wins. Now, the 5 wins, I believe, are good wins, but it's no way. No, I'm sorry, no. No way that a 5-win SEC team at the moment should be considered to go in the tournament. But speaking of tournament, North Carolina, I'll rephrase this. I'll go Duke first. Duke gets 2 blowout wins. Blowout Virginia, which is good, but it's like Virginia, they're not good this year. Coach Bennett, Tony Bennett, he quit, or whatever you want to say, he resigned, whatever, he quit early in the season. But then to go at a neutral site at Madison Square Garden and win by almost 40, if not 40, to Illinois was impressive. Very impressive win by Duke against Illinois, especially with the talent that Illinois has. I get Maurice Johnson didn't play, but Maurice Johnson's not a 40-point difference. That was an absolutely big win by Duke. So shout out to them. Duke had an amazing week this week, but they've been having an amazing year all year. So that was a great win by them. But now let's talk North Carolina because North Carolina blows out Virginia. I believe NC State was this week, but North Carolina, I've seen was climbing up the standings for getting in the tournament. Now, I think part of that has to do with the North Carolina name, but they have been winning games as well. So I want to say they're like first or second line of the first 4 out. So I think they're working their way back in. Got to get some W's. I don't think they have to beat Duke because I don't think they will beat Duke, but at least be competitive against Duke. Maybe that might get them in there. But, yeah, North Carolina's climbing. But I also want to move to a team that I was disappointed in, and they'll transition to the other team that they played, but new Mexico. You had one job Wednesday. Beat Boise State on the road. Let's get ranked. And they lost. They lost in Boise, man. But Boise State's a good team. It wasn't easy. It was definitely going to be a battle. And Boise State just got the job done. They beat New Mexico. New Mexico for sure won't be ranked. But they're still in first place in the Mountain West. But speaking of Boise State, 2 great wins. Got the home win against New Mexico. Got the road win against Nevada. Made a play late to go up 4. They won by 1 point, but I watched the game. Nevada just hit a 3 as time expired. Boise State let him shoot it, and he made it. The buzzer went off. They won by 1. But great back and forth win by Boise State. Sticking in the Mountain West, Utah State, man. Utah State. Now, albeit San Diego State starting center Magoon Glorf did get hurt like ASAP in the game. Prayers up because it was a leg injury. It looked bad. But Utah State still won the game against San Diego State. That much closer to New Mexico and the Mountain West Conference standings. That's a tight race going on right there. Boise State, I believe, is right behind them. So that's a tight race. Colorado State got the W against UNLV Saturday night. So shout out to them as well for that. Let's move on to the A10, where VCU, like I said, got the W against George Mason, blowout fashion. At home, man, VCU just tough to beat at home. They cannot be stopped at home, moving to 14-0 at home. Now tied with George Mason for the A10 title right now, both having 2 losses in the A10. From the A10, I just want to go to the MAC very quickly. Miami of Ohio did get the W against Kent State, pulled it out. I don't know how, but they got the job done Friday in overtime. They did lose, I believe, to Eastern Michigan earlier in the week, so that did hurt them because Akron is the team I wanted to talk about. Losing this week, breaking a 14-game losing streak to the University of Ohio Bobcats. And it wasn't particularly close, and they got dominated from wire to wire, essentially. Well, it wasn't wire to wire. I don't want to say that because they did. I think they went up like 1 a couple times, but they basically got dominated. Got dominated by University of Ohio. At one point, I think they were down 30. Snapped the 14-game win streak, but they're still 2 games ahead of Miami of Ohio, I believe, in the MAC race. So shout out to them. Moving to the MAC, we got to talk about my dog of the week losing. South Alabama lost by 1 in overtime after Barry Dunning hit an and 1 layup to go up 1 point with 5 seconds left. They just Texas State calls a timeout, gets the ball to the point guard. Nobody turns the ball. Nobody stops the ball. He just races down the lane and takes a layup to win the game by 1 point with 0.5 seconds left. They just gave him the layup. Didn't turn the ball. Didn't try to stop the ball. Didn't even try to trap the ball. Nothing. Just let him run down the sideline. Let him run to the cup. If it was that easy, why can't bro, I understand you don't want to get the foul in that situation because they shoot 2. But, you have to play some sort of defense. It's not like it's 2 seconds left. It's 5 seconds left. That's an eternity. That's a lot of time to a collegiate athlete to get down the floor. And it killed them in the end after getting a road win against against Arkansas State. Now, James Madison's in first place in the Sun Belt. So shout out to them. Won the Sun Belt last year in the conference tournament. So shout out to them. They actually lost a lot from that team too. And for them to be where they at is the ultimate shout out. Do I got anything else this week? I know I've been rambling for like 20 to 25 minutes. Do I got anything else this week in review? I don't think so. Texas Tech. Texas Tech is doing what Texas Tech does. Got the slow start against West Virginia, but ultimately got the job done. I love Texas Tech basketball, as I said. Exactly. Dog, that one hurt. The dog of the week hurt, especially because we was on a 2-game losing streak. Thought with the and 1. Barry Dunning had 40 points, by the way. I think he ended with 43. Thought we got one. I'm like, all right, cool. We back on the winning side. But something told me, I'm like, man, 5 seconds and 1. This game really ain't had no defense all game. They've been running the zone all game. No pressure on the ball, too. It's crazy. With 5 seconds left, because that's how he got the ball. They inbounded the ball, he gave it right back with a running start. No pressure on the ball was insane. But I had a feeling that they would want to break my heart. But yeah, I really don't think I have too much more. God, let's see. I touched the SEC, touched the ACC. Oh, let's talk about Clemson. Clemson and Louisville still winning games. Just running through the ACC. If you're not Duke, they running through you. When Clemson case, they ran through Duke. So, yeah, Clemson and Louisville still going crazy in the ACC. I can't say Pitt lost to Notre Dame this Saturday. That was crazy. Didn't see that coming. And then we talked about NC State being Wake Forest. That was sad. It's crazy though because NC State might not even make the ACC tournament. Oh, we gotta talk about Nebraska getting blown out by Penn State. Penn State's fighting for their Big Ten tournament lives. I think Northwestern's fighting for it as well. Because if you don't know, in some of these cases, like I believe the SEC tournament, the Big Ten, and the ACC tournaments. I know the Big Ten for sure, and I know the ACC for sure. I'm not too sure about the SEC. But 15 of the top 18 teams go to the tournament. So that means if you're in the bottom 3, you will not be going to the tournament. And I know for sure, Penn State just beat Minnesota as well. So that might have changed since the last time I looked. But Penn State was fighting for their conference tournament lives. I know Iowa was fighting for it, and that loss to Oregon did not help. But Nebraska has lost, I believe, I don't know about 2 straight, but I know they lost to Penn State badly. And I know Penn State beat Minnesota. So let's look at some standings for a second. I just completely thought about that. When I was going pre-show, I don't know why I didn't think about writing down teams fighting for their conference tournament lives. That's important. But yeah, let's see. We go to the Big Ten standings. We got Washington, Northwestern, and Penn State, like I said. Northwestern's 5-11, Iowa 6-10, USC 6-10, Penn State's 5-12, and Washington's 4-12. So the bottom 3 right now is Northwestern, Penn State, and Washington. Now, Northwestern, they lost 2 good players. They lost Martinelli for the year, and they lost Jalen Leach for the year. So those 2 guys are gone. Northwestern's still playing competitive basketball, but it does suck that those 2 are gone. Penn State, they just dropping games. They was just dropping games. They started off really hot to start the season. There was a lot of buzz around Penn State, and they just started dropping games. And Washington, they just been losing games as well. At one point, they only had 1 win, which was Maryland. And, they got 4 now, so they pulled together some wins, but they were just dropping games. It just is what it is. So those are 3 teams fighting. But I will say this. The range, there's a 2-game range from Minnesota, USC, Iowa, Northwestern, Penn State, Washington. So these games matter. These games do matter. Iowa, I know they still got to play MSU, but Iowa have been handing out a number lately. So that's something to look out for. Look out for that. We can move to the ACC, where the ACC at the bottom is Miami, 2-14, Boston College, 4-12, who got a good win at Georgia Tech, which I was mad at because I was all over that game. I felt that Georgia Tech was going to lose at Boston College being underdogs. I was all over that, and I was mad that I didn't pick it. But nonetheless, and North Carolina State is 4-12. Now, Cal is 5-11, just losing to Stanford. Syracuse is also 5-11. So, and UVA is 6-10. Notre Dame is also 6-10. So, I don't know what my phone is doing right now. This ain't bugging out. But it's only a 3. Well, Miami's for sure bottom. But between Boston College, which is 17th, and I think I'm gonna say Notre Dame is like 12th. It's only a 2-game difference there as well. So these games are important for that. Because if you remember, last year ACC tournament had a Cinderella run. North Carolina State, believe they were a 12 or 11 seed in the ACC tournament, won the whole thing. So important, at least in the ACC tournament. And we'll just do a hypothetical for the SEC because I want to say that's how it works for the SEC as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that. At the bottom, obviously, South Carolina with 1 SEC win. Secondly, LSU with 3, who just lost to Florida, who ran through them. Well, they didn't run through them, but they did beat them. And then Oklahoma, 4-10. Georgia's tied with them at 4-10. Texas is 5-9. Arkansas is 5-9. Vanderbilt is 6-8. So at the bottom, my opinion, South Carolina. Still got to play Mizzou. I think we still got, I don't know. I can't remember, honestly. But I know we got some tough games coming up. Yeah, we got Mizzou Tuesday. Arkansas, Georgia. Ooh, we actually might have a chance. We could probably fight. Oh, no, we're still bottom 3. It's just no way. We have to win out. We still got Tennessee. So, getting out the bottom is tough. But we could force some teams. We could take some teams down to the bottom with us. Still playing Georgia and Arkansas. We could take them to the bottom with us. But yeah, we ain't making the tournament if that's the case. It's a. Other than that, though, it's a pretty close race. LSU to Vanderbilt is a 3-game difference. LSU to Arkansas is a 2-game difference. But SEC tournament, those are the bottoms. I don't think the Big 12 has that stipulation, so I just won't do it. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all today. That is my weekend review on college basketball. A lot going on. Again, shout out to the teams that I announced earlier that won their conference and regular season titles. I'll shout them out again. St. Mary's of the West Coast Conference, or the WCC. Drake of the Missouri Valley Conference, or the MVC. McNeese of the Southland Conference. Towson of the Coastal Conference. Yale of the Ivy League. And these two teams share at least a bare minimum of their conference, which is Central Connecticut State of the Northeast Conference, or the NEC. And Southeast Missouri State of the Ohio Valley Conference, or OVC. So shout out those teams. This next week should crown more regular season title holders, or sometimes you just got to go to the wire. But again, that's all I have for y'all today. Tomo, be ready Wednesday. I should be back tomorrow, poll talk. I don't know. I might come back tomorrow, might not. But I will have an episode before my Saturday episode. Just know that. But I'm gone. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.